ready for a deep dive. Today, we're taking a look at Alok Vaid-Menon's Beyond the Gender Binary.
Ooh, excellent choice. I'm excited to dig into this one.
Yeah, it's a powerful read. Right off the bat, Vaid-Menon hits you with this line. The days that I feel most beautiful are the days that I am most afraid.
Wow. That's a statement.
Right. Gets you thinking, why would feeling beautiful be something to be afraid of?
Exactly. It speaks to the pressure, the expectations that society puts on us around gender.
And Vaid-Menon dives deep into that, especially through their own experiences. Imagine growing up in College Station, Texas, loving bright colors, putting on dances at those Indian community potlucks.
Oh, I love that. It speaks to that natural joy and self-expression that kids have before those societal norms kick in.
Totally. But then they tell this heartbreaking story about a first-grade talent show. They pour their heart into it, and it's met with laughter, ridicule.
Ugh, that just breaks my heart. It shows how early those rigid gender norms can be enforced, even in first grade.
And the impact of that, it can be lasting. Vaid-Menon talks about how they started to change, to tone things down, wear more muted colors, trying to blend in.
It's a form of self-protection, right? If you don't stand out, you're less likely to be targeted. But it comes at a cost.
Absolutely. Like you're silencing a part of yourself.
Exactly. And that silence, as Vaid-Menon says, it can eat away at you.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, how many of us have done the same? How many parts of ourselves have we tucked away because they didn't fit the mold?
It really makes you think. And for Vaid-Menon, it wasn't just peers. Even adults would tell them to tone it down, be less feminine.
It just shows how deeply ingrained these norms are. We might not even realize we're perpetuating them, but those messages add up.
For sure. So how did Vaid-Menon break free? They talk about finding their people, their chosen family, those friends who celebrate them for who they are.
That's so important, that sense of belonging and acceptance, finding those spaces where you can be your authentic self.
It's like that's where the real exploration can begin, when you feel safe and supported. And that leads us to Vaid-Menon's core argument, moving beyond those limiting categories of he and she, embracing a more expansive understanding of gender.
Right, because those boxes, they don't fit everyone. And in trying to make everyone fit, we end up limiting ourselves,
Yeah.
We miss out on so much richness and diversity.
So how do we even begin to unpack these bigger ideas around gender? Vaid-Menon does a brilliant job of breaking down those common arguments that get thrown around, those dismissive phrases that we've all heard.
Oh, absolutely. Like, it's just a phase. Ugh, that one gets me every time.
Boy, as if it's just some rebellious phase that teenagers go through, and then everyone just magically grows out of it.
Exactly. It completely ignores the very real struggles and discrimination that gender nonconforming people face, not just in their youth, but throughout their lives. It's minimizing their experiences, trying to fit them back into that binary box.
Yeah. It's so dismissive. And then there's the unnatural argument, as if everything humans do, from the clothes we wear to the languages we speak, like it's all just sprung out of thin air.
Right. Like we haven't been shaping and reshaping our world since the dawn of time. We invented the spork. We clearly go beyond natural when it comes to cutlery.
Exactly. I mean, come on.
But really, when people use that unnatural argument, it often reveals such a limited view of what they consider natural, right? Often rooted in cultural or religious beliefs, rather than any real understanding of biology or gender.
And it's used to suggest that there's something inherently wrong with anyone who doesn't fit those narrow expectations.
Yeah.
But diversity is everywhere in nature. Look at the animal kingdom. It's full of variations in sex and gender expression.
Absolutely. This whole idea of trying to impose this rigid binary onto the natural world, it just doesn't hold up.
Not even a little bit. And Vaid-Menon doesn't let us off the hook with those more subtle forms of dismissal either, like that whole inconvenience angle.
Oh, you mean like, why do we need all these different pronouns? Can't we just stick with what we've always used?
Exactly. Like acknowledging and respecting someone's gender identity is this huge burden, this massive inconvenience.
But what that really reveals is a fear of the unknown, right?
Yeah.
Like any deviation from what's familiar is somehow threatening.
And it ignores the fact that societies are constantly evolving. Embracing diversity, including gender diversity, isn't a threat. It's what makes us stronger, more adaptable.
100%. And I love how Vaid-Menon puts it. There are no such things as gender nonconforming issues. They're just the issues that other people have with themselves that they take out on us.
It's such a powerful reframing, shifting the focus from individual identities to those societal structures and prejudices that create the conditions for discrimination.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not about us needing to change. It's about dismantling those systems of oppression.
And speaking of oppression, Vaid-Menon also tackles that whole biology argument that gets used to justify discrimination against gender nonconforming people, as if biology is this trump card that invalidates the experiences of transgender and non-binary individuals.
Right, like just because there are biological differences between male and female bodies, that somehow dictates someone's gender identity.
Exactly. But sex and gender are not the same thing. Sex refers to those biological characteristics, whereas gender is about how we understand and express ourselves within those categories.
Right.
Which, by the way, are way more diverse than some people realize.
Way more. There's a whole spectrum of biological variation, even within those categories of male and female.
Totally. And Vaid-Menon says it beautifully. There are as many ways to be a woman as there are women. There are as many ways to be a man as there are men. There are as many ways to be non-binary as there are non-binary people.
It's about recognizing that diversity, that multiplicity of experiences. That's what makes it so rich and complex.
And when we try to force everyone into those two narrow boxes, we miss out on all of that.
Absolutely. And we perpetuate harm in the process.
So how do we move beyond those simplistic views? How do we create a world that embraces this beautiful spectrum of gender identity? Well, that's exactly what Vaid-Menon explores in the next part of the book.
And trust me, it's a vision worth fighting for.
So you've talked about the limitations, but what does a world beyond the binary actually look like? Vaid-Menon paints a pretty inspiring picture.
They describe it as a constellation of genders, with each star being a unique expression of gender identity.
I love that imagery, a constellation of genders, so much more expansive than those rigid boxes. And Vaid-Menon argues that this diversity, it actually benefits everyone.
Right. When we let go of these narrow definitions of male and female, it frees everyone up to explore that full spectrum of human experience. Imagine clothes, interests, emotions not being categorized as masculine or feminine.
Just appreciating those things for what they are, letting people express themselves authentically.
Exactly. Recognizing that someone's gender identity doesn't limit their potential, it just adds another layer to who they are.
But Vaid-Menon is also real about this. Dismantling the gender binary, it's a process, right? It's not like we snap our fingers and suddenly utopia.
It takes work. We have to keep questioning those ingrained assumptions, challenging the status quo.
Being willing to have those tough conversations, even making mistakes along the way.
And listening to and believing the experiences of transgender and non-binary people.
Absolutely. Their voices are crucial in this.
Leading the way, showing us what's possible.
You know, there's this line in the book that really stayed with me. Vaid-Menon asks, what part of yourself did you have to destroy in order to survive in this world?
Ooh, yeah. That one hits hard.
Makes you think about all the times you might have dimmed your own light just to fit in.
It's a good reminder, though, that this isn't just about advocating for the rights of transgender and non-binary folks. It's about creating a world where everyone feels empowered to be themselves, fully.
So, to our listeners, we highly recommend checking out Beyond the Gender Binary by Alok Vaid-Menon. It's a powerful read that will definitely challenge your thinking.
It's a great starting point for anyone wanting to dive deeper into these topics.
And we hope this deep dive has inspired you to do just that. Thanks for joining us.
Until next time.